Season 18 opened with a sense of change in the air. From the very first episode, you could feel that the Fleming Bartlett family was standing at the edge of something new. Amy, still carrying the weight of Ty's loss while raising Lindy, took on the challenge of guiding not just her daughter but also the horses that seemed to mirror her struggles. Every scene with Amy reminded fans of her quiet strength, but also the pain she still carried in her heart. These early episodes showed us that even though she had been through storms, she refused to let them define her future. Meanwhile, Jack, the rock of the family, was faced with memories of his past that kept creeping back into the present. His wisdom was there as always, but you could see his vulnerability too. For Jack, Season 18 began with questions about legacy and what Heartland truly meant for the next generation. Lou, on the other hand, stood at a crossroads. As mayor, her professional life demanded more than ever. But at the same time, her role as a mother and sister was constantly pulling her back home. Those first 2 episodes made it clear. Lou's journey this season would be about choosing where her heart truly belonged. And of course, the ranch itself remained at the center of it all. Horses brought both healing and conflict. Amy worked with troubled animals who reflected the struggles of the people around her. Just like the horses, the characters were restless, caught between past wounds and future hopes. The season started softly, but every moment felt like it was building toward bigger storms ahead. By the time the story moved into the next few episodes, the warmth of Heartland started to feel shaky. Family bonds were tested and old wounds returned when no one was ready to face them. Jack, the man who had always carried strength in silence, found himself haunted by the past. His memories, long buried under years of hard ranch work, began to surface, and with them came a quiet pain that even his wisdom couldn't cover. You could see in his eyes that the battles inside him were harder than any he had fought in the fields. These episodes turned Jack's calm presence into a fragile reminder that even the strongest hearts can break. Lou's story became even more tangled. Every step forward in her career seemed to pull her 2 steps away from the people who needed her most. As mayor, she was respected, busy, and constantly under pressure. But as a sister and daughter, she was drifting, torn between her ambitions and the family that always seemed to slip through her fingers. The show made us wonder, could Lou truly have both, a powerful career and a steady home, or would she lose one in the process? Meanwhile, Amy was caught in the middle, as she always is, the one who tries to hold everyone together. Yet even she struggled. The horses she worked with during these episodes reflected the chaos in her own family. A frightened stallion mirrored Jack's inner turmoil. A stubborn mare reflected Lou's constant tug-of-war between love and duty. Amy's healing touch was there, but her calm was breaking. By episode 5, the Fleming Bartlett household felt more divided than ever. Small arguments turned into heavy silences. Trust, once unshakable, began to crack. And while the ranch remained beautiful and steady under the wide-open sky, the family inside was beginning to feel like strangers living under the same roof. These episodes carried no explosions, no loud drama, but the quiet tension was enough to leave fans holding their breath. Secrets have a way of waiting for the right moment to rise, and in Heartland's mid-season stretch they came like storm clouds over the ranch. These weren't loud or sudden secrets. They crept into the story quietly, catching the characters off guard, changing how they looked at each other, and how we as viewers saw them. Amy, who had carried herself with calm determination since the beginning, was shaken when a hidden truth forced her to question her trust. A part of her life, once steady, felt uncertain again. It was not just about her as a mother or a horse whisperer. It was about her identity. Watching her face those shadows, we were reminded that healing isn't a straight road. Sometimes it bends back into places we thought were safe. At the same time, Jack faced a revelation of his own. A long-buried memory resurfaced, tied to the ranch and its legacy. Suddenly, Heartland felt less like the unshakable foundation he had built, and more like a fragile place that could slip away. For a man who had always been the anchor, this moment of doubt cut deeper than anything else. The silence in his scenes was powerful. Sometimes, heartbreak is shown not through words but through the weight of pauses. Lou, caught in the middle of politics and family, discovered that choices made in one world always ripple into the other. A secret about her career, one she had tried to keep away from her family, came crashing back, pulling her closer to a painful truth. She couldn't separate the mayor from the sister, the leader from the daughter. And for Lou, this season began to ask a dangerous question. Was she building a future or running from the present? By episode 8, the air around Heartland felt heavier. Arguments broke out, trust lines were crossed, and for the first time this season, the family itself seemed at risk of falling apart. Yet in the middle of all the pain, the ranch's horses mirrored that chaos. They became wild, restless, and unsettled, as if even they could feel the secrets weighing on the people around them. Heartland reminded us here that truth, no matter how painful, always finds a way to the surface, and when it does, it changes everything. By the time the season reached its middle arc, the weight of secrets had already begun to crack the Heartland family. But in episodes 9 through 11, those cracks widened, and the very foundation of their relationships was put to the test. These weren't small misunderstandings anymore. This was the kind of silence, anger, and distance that can pull families apart for good. Amy's strength, so often the glue that held everyone together, was pushed to its breaking point. She tried to balance her work with the horses, raise Lindy with patience and love, and keep her family from falling into pieces. But even the calmest spirit can only take so much. There were moments in these episodes where Amy's face carried both exhaustion and quiet fire, the look of someone who refuses to give up, even when it hurts. She leaned into Ty's memory more than ever, as if reminding herself that his legacy was not just in her daughter, but in her resilience. Lou's journey, however, grew even more complicated. Her duties as mayor clashed head-on with the family's needs, creating situations where she had to choose between loyalty to her community and loyalty to her blood. These episodes forced Lou to confront uncomfortable truths. No matter how much she tried, she couldn't be everywhere at once. For Lou, the test wasn't about politics or leadership. It was about whether her family would still stand beside her when she failed to be present. And then there was Jack. His quiet suffering became louder, not in words, but in his actions. He carried the weight of disappointment, fear, and love all at once. In these episodes, Jack's story showed us how the strongest hearts are sometimes the ones that suffer the deepest. His bond with Amy was tested, his patience with Lou stretched thin, and his role as the steady center of Heartland seemed to be slipping away. By episode 11, the ranch itself became a symbol of the family's fragile state. The horses grew restless, the land felt colder, and the once unshakable harmony of Heartland seemed distant. Every glance, every unspoken word carried tension. Fans could feel it. The family was walking a thin line between healing and breaking. And the question that hung in the air was simple but terrifying. Would the bonds of Heartland survive, or would this be the season that finally tore them apart? Just when it seemed the Fleming Bartlett family might drift too far apart, Heartland reminded us of its greatest truth. Even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. Episodes 12 through 14 carried a softer rhythm, like a storm finally giving way to calm skies. But healing, as always, didn't come easily. It came in small, fragile steps, often through pain before peace. Amy took the first steps toward hope. After being weighed down for so long, she began to see light again, not only through her daughter Lindy, but also through the horses she worked with. In one unforgettable moment, Amy guided a horse that had been nearly broken by fear. The way she calmed that animal wasn't just training, it was a reflection of her own healing. It felt like Amy was teaching herself as much as she was teaching the horse, that trust, once broken, can still be rebuilt. Her journey in these episodes was quiet but powerful, a reminder of the resilience she carried since the very beginning. Lou, still torn between duty and family, finally began to realize that her strength didn't lie in choosing one over the other. These episodes showed her softer side, moments where she paused, listened, and allowed herself to be vulnerable again. For Lou, healing meant admitting she couldn't do it all alone. The weight she had carried as mayor and as a sister started to feel lighter when she allowed her family back into her struggles. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it was the beginning of balance. And then there was Jack. For so long his pain had been a silent burden, but now we saw the walls around him start to crack in a different way, not with anger, but with acceptance. Jack found himself opening up, letting others see the struggles he had tried so hard to bury. These episodes gave us the Jack we all needed to see, a man who realized that even the strongest anchors need something to hold on to. His bond with Amy, tested by hardship, began to mend with quiet conversations, gentle moments, and unspoken forgiveness. By episode 14, the ranch began to breathe again. Horses grew calmer, Family dinners returned with hesitant laughter, and for the first time in a long while, Heartland felt whole, even if just for a moment. These episodes weren't about grand victories. They were about the beauty of small healing, the courage of admitting pain, and the hope that tomorrow could be brighter than yesterday. As season 18 moved into its final chapters, the story carried a weight that felt different. These weren't just episodes. They were the payoff for every tear, silence, and struggle that came before. Episodes 15 through the finale pulled the family back together, not in a neat or perfect way, but in the raw and honest way Heartland has always done best. Amy, who had spent the entire season wrestling with trust, loss, and resilience, stood taller than ever. By the finale, her work with the horses became more than just training. It was a reflection of her own journey. Every horse she calmed, every broken spirit she helped mirrored her own healing. The season closed with Amy stronger, not because she had no pain, but because she had learned to carry it with grace. Fans could see Ty's legacy living in her choices, in Lindy's laughter, and in the steady way she faced the world. Lou finally confronted the balance between family and leadership. After a season of chasing two lives, she began to merge them. In the closing episodes, she made decisions that brought her closer to Heartland, closer to her family, without abandoning her duty to the community. It was a hard-earned clarity, one that showed her growth from a leader who tried to control everything, to a woman who understood the power of leaning on the people who loved her. Jack's arc, heavy with memories and regrets, reached a quiet but powerful conclusion. He accepted his past, the pain he had carried for years, and in doing so, he softened in ways fans rarely see. In the finale, Jack wasn't just the ranch's anchor. He became the bridge that reminded everyone what Heartland truly stood for: love, trust, and family. His presence was less about silence and more about gentle wisdom, passing down hope to the next generation. The final scenes of season 18 felt like a circle completing itself. The ranch was alive again with warmth and purpose. Horses ran free under the golden sun. Family gathered not as broken pieces struggling to fit, but as a whole flawed but stronger than before. There was no flashy ending, no perfect bow tied on top. Just the kind of quiet resolution that leaves you with tears in your eyes and hope in your heart. And yet, as the credits rolled, you could feel it. Heartland's story isn't over. Season 18 closed with love, healing, and the promise that there are always more trials ahead, more lessons to learn, and more memories to make at the ranch. It was an ending that didn't just finish a season, it prepared us for whatever comes next. When we look back at season 18 as a whole, one thing stands out above all else. Heartland remains a story about resilience. For nearly 2 decades, this series has shown us that no matter how much pain a family carries, love always has the final word. This season was not about grand victories or flawless lives. It was about the beauty in brokenness, and the strength it takes to keep going when everything feels lost. Amy's arc was about healing through connection. She carried the legacy of Ty while raising Lindy with quiet strength. Every horse she touched, every troubled soul she calmed, mirrored her own journey of rebuilding trust and learning to live again. Lou's story was one of balance, learning that ambition means little if it costs the people closest to you. Her struggles showed us that leadership is not about control but about trust, and by the end, she found a way to be both a leader and a sister without losing herself. Jack's role reminded us that even anchors can drift. His pain was quiet but heavy, and his eventual acceptance was one of the most moving threads of the season. He reminded the family and us that wisdom doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from learning to live with it. Throughout season 18, we saw moments that stayed with us. The saddest moments where silence said more than words. The warmest scenes where family dinners and laughter returned after so much distance, and the shocking revelations where secrets nearly tore them apart. Together, these beats gave the season its power, reminding us that real life, just like life at Heartland, is full of both heartbreak and hope. The final theme was clear. Family is never perfect, but it is always worth fighting for. That is why fans keep coming back, season after season. Because Heartland isn't just about ranch life or horses, it's about us. About the people we love, the mistakes we make, and the ways we keep choosing each other despite it all. As season 18 closed, it left us with a gentle truth. The Fleming-Bartlett family has been tested, but their bonds remain unbroken. The ranch still stands as a symbol of love and legacy, and while this chapter ends, the story is far from over. Season 18 didn't just wrap up, it opened the door to whatever comes next. Outro, Heartland. Season 18 gave us tears, hope, and unforgettable moments. It reminded us why this show has lasted longer than most, because it speaks to the heart. And if this season taught us anything, it's that no matter the struggles, love always finds its way home.